Wondering how to find a good postdoc position, so another lab to join after you finish grad school, and how to convince that lab that they should take you on? Or maybe you're looking to break into industry. Whatever the next steps, it can be kind of intimidating and be sort of mysterious, not something that people tell you much about how to actually go about doing it. And so the IUBMB Trainee Initiative, we want to help. So we're hosting a webinar on July 29th at 11 Pacific that's going to feature talks by Arjun Raj and Kyle Hess, who are going to talk about how you go about these things. How do you reach out and find a postdoc? How do you go and look for an industry position? And how do you market yourself to those potential employers to make your greatest case for how wonderful you really are? Here's a little bit more about the event. The first talk will be by Dr. Arjun Raj, who is a professor of bioengineering and genetics at the University of Pennsylvania, where he uses mathematical modeling techniques and things to try to understand how molecules behave inside of cells and how those behaviors correspond to how the cells behave. And so he's going to tell you about finding a postdoc, so one of these postdoctoral positions. And he's going to tell you some of the do's and don'ts he's acquired over the years, both as an applicant as well as in his position as a professor, being the person who actually decides who to take into a new lab. So this feedback he gives, or the advice he gives, is going to be super duper helpful. Speaking of which, he's also graciously offered up free one-on-one chats. So you can just email him at arjunrajlab@gmail.com if you have further questions or you want some sort of one-on-one mentoring. He's especially passionate about helping people who face various barriers to success in academia and helping reduce those barriers. So we're very grateful that he's taking the time to talk to all of us. After Dr. Raj's talk, there's going to be a Q&A session, followed by a second talk by Dr. Kyle Hess, who's a proteomics scientist at Bristol Meyers Squibb. When you hear proteomics, think big data surrounding measurements of proteins, typically with mass spectrometry. And so Dr. Hess is studying how various medications affects the proteomes of the cells, the proteins inside of cells, and how we can figure out what drugs are doing, both the things we want them to do and the things that we don't want them to do, and then maybe help design these drugs better so that they only do the things that we want them to do. And so Dr. Hess is going to give us the industry perspective. He's going to tell us how he transitioned from academia to industry, things that industry looks for when they're hiring, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's going to offer an alternative perspective to some alternative careers in after you finish your grad school or whatever training you have as a scientist. And so that's going to be very valuable as well. And there'll be a second Q&A session after that. So overall, this event is going to be a really great webinar, June 29th at 11 Pacific Standard Time, and it's being hosted by the IUBMB Trainee Initiative. The IUBMB is the International Union of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, and the IUBMB Trainee Initiative is a group within the IUBMB made up of science trainees, so students and postdocs from around the world. And we put on a variety of different events and host resources and things like this. In particular, this event is put on by our PABMB chapter, so our Pan American Association for Biochemistry and Molecular Biology. So we have Hannah Pletcher, Sunny Kong, Kathy Cosma, and me, although I haven't been as helpful planning this event as I would like because things have been pretty crazy transitioning into my next role out of my postdoc. So maybe in the future we'll have an event on transitioning out of the trainee position into your next position. But for now, this event is going to be focused on finding that position after grad school, and whether that be in academia or in industry. And those aren't the only two options. Those are just two of the main options and the ones that we're going to highlight at this event with our limited time. Speaking of our events, if you want to look, this event is going to be recorded. It will be posted on the IUBMB Trainee Initiative's webpage, as well as where you can find all of our past recordings. And these will also be available on the IUBMB's YouTube channel. So we really hope that you'll join us at this event. It's going to be a really great time, and we hope that it helps you as well. So see you there.